So if you're joining us, welcome to Wednesday webinar with the Able Trust. Today, our topic is transition-related legislation and what you need to know. I'm Colleen Agner, the High School High Tech State Director for the Able Trust. A little bit of background, the Able Trust was created by the Florida legislature in 1990 as a DSO for VR. Since our establishment, our work has focused on increasing opportunities for Floridians with disabilities to join the workforce. Looking forward to the next 30 years of operation and beyond, the Able Trust is repositioning our work on disability employment by being the thought leader for our workforce disability inclusion. Our work to position ourselves as a state leader for disability employment consists of three major strategic priorities: research, outreach, and capacity building. The Able Trust is a thought leader who shares data, not just economic data, but evidence-based data and research and best practices. This better equips us to meet stakeholders where they're at and in turn raise awareness, make connections, and build collaborations between employers, educators, career service providers, elected officials, community leaders, and more. The good news is the number of Floridians with disabilities who are employed continues to increase each year. From 2017 to 2021, there was nearly a 20% increase. So continuing that momentum is crucial, and we happen to be part of a perfect time of year to increase awareness of disability employment issues. As you know, October is Disability Employment Awareness Month. The Able Trust works year-round on promoting disability employment, but this important time in October gives us a unique opportunity to work with partners around the state to shine a light on the contributions Floridians with disabilities make to the workforce. Our theme for DEAM this year is Fueling Workplace Ambition, demonstrating that people with disabilities are ambitious and have the knowledge and skills to be meaningful additions to the workforce. And what better way to start each workday than with a cup of tea, coffee, beverage that fuels your ambition. So we would be remiss if we did not thank our outstanding slate of Disability Employment Awareness Month sponsors. They are all helping to make Webinar Wednesday and all of our DEAM events possible. So without further ado, Webinar Wednesday is a big part of our schedule for DEAM, and we're so happy to welcome Tracy Dempsey, Project 10 Region 1 Transition Representative for North Central Florida, and Donna Phillips, Director and Principal Investigator for Project 10. Tracy and Donna, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm fixing to turn the presentation over to you. And as a housekeeping for everybody that's on the webinar today, we will have a Q&A. So if there's a question you'd like to ask, just pop it in the question and answer box down there, and we will see that we can get that answered. And after the completion of this webinar, it will be available on our website. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Donna.
Thank you. Let's see. So I'm going to stop sharing screen for right now. Okay. And let's see if it will it put my picture on? I don't know if it will. Don't know why it's not switching to me there. Okay, well, then I will just go to our Project 10 website. Okay, so are you seeing my screen now?
I don't think you're sharing, Donna.
Oh dear.
Donna, while you work that out, I can jump in on House Bill 19.
Okay, Tracy, for some reason, I cannot get this share screen to work. I'm sorry, I'm working on a different laptop than I normally do. I have a new one, and so I guess I'm just learning to use it. But Tracy, if you would share screen and open to our Project 10 website, then I'll be where we need to go in just a second.
Okay, just give me,
Thank you.
sure.
Sorry for that delay, but regardless of that, Tracy and I are really delighted to be here with you all today. And we want to share with you about some new legislation that's transition related and that went into effect on July 1st of 2023. And all of these new transition related legislation updates, they either indirectly impact Florida students' abilities to engage in meaningful work, or they directly impact students' ability to engage in meaningful work. And they're related to graduation requirements, rights to make educational decisions, and students' abilities to access CTE courses and provide and to get exposure to career opportunities through career fairs. So I'm going to just give you a brief, actually Tracy's going to assist me with this. We're going to give you just a brief introduction to our website. So Tracy, if you'll scroll down and show all the buckets, that would be great. Or maybe that's scrolling up. I always forget which is which. So we are going to, we have these 8 buckets, and when you can navigate and find our, resources in all of these areas by looking through these different categories that we have. And the first thing I want to explain is something we can't see right now, but the first time you log on to the Project 10 website, which is project10.info, there'll be like this gateway screen that comes up that asks you to say like what your role is in transition, and it'll give you lots of different roles. If you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're whatever role you are, and if we don't have a role that fits you, just take your pick. So we're doing that because it helps us to, at the end of the year, to look at who is accessing our website and who we need to get information out to about the resources that are here. So that's the first thing you'll see. And then today we're going to look at the considering age of majority document. And so you would go to publications, and then you would scroll down and find considering age of majority. It should be alphabetical, right? So I think it's not.
Nope.
Hmm.
It was one of our last publications, so it's on the end.
Oh, so it's on the end. Okay. So the first page of this document, this is just a real skip through it, but I think you'll want to go to our website and download this and take a look at it. It may be something that you want to share with others, whether you're a parent or a teacher or whatever your role in transition is. And so the first page shows basically the legislation in the yellow blocks and talks about how students are going to receive, students and families are going to receive some instruction and information about self-determination so that students and families can navigate that transition of rights. And with that transition of rights, students receive the rights to make their educational decisions at age 18, but they can consent to involve families and allow parents to have access to those educational records and those kinds of things. And so the self-determination is a new thing. The self-determination information is a new thing that is included in legislation this year that's of special interest to our school districts. So that is definitely something to pay attention to. And then if we could navigate to our topical brief page, that's in our bucket called What's New. And in our What's New page, we have a section on topical briefs. And we're going to look at the legislative update, the July version of our topical brief. And we actually don't have slides that we're sharing today. We're kind of going to be speaking from a couple of different resources. And we wanted to show you where you could find these resources, like Considering Age of Majority and this topical brief, so that you would be able to find them yourself after this is finished. And then I already did sort of a little brief overview of House Bill 19. I'm going to do a couple of more brief overviews, and then I'm going to hand it over to Tracy, and she's going to do a little bit of a deeper dive, and that's probably where some of your questions might come in. So House Bill 1 is basically related to the graduation requirements for students with disabilities. And so at this point, House Bill 1 will eliminate the online course requirement for a standard high school diploma. And so that will amend our Florida statute 1003.4282. And so that's something new. Previously, we had a requirement for an online course, and now that requirement is deleted. That frees up schedules to take some different courses, like possibly like employment related CTE courses, or it just could be a variety of things. So that's going to give our students an opportunity to take some things like that. And then House Bill 19, I already talked about just a little bit. And so I'm going to skip to House Bill 240. And House Bill 240 just make sure it ensures that students in middle school who are participating in CTE courses will continue to have access for those courses through high school. So students with disabilities who are in middle school or high school should have access to take CTE courses. And this is directly related to employment, because there are a lot of vocations that can be accessed through CTE education. And so it will be an advantage for all of our students. And it also provides a requirement for school districts to sponsor a career fair at least once per year. And this will also help students to access information about different careers, and also see if there are vendors there from specific careers who are looking for people who might want to come into their area. They can, make connections that might be future employers, and again, just learn more about what careers entail. I remember when I was a student, and I just frequently had a completely different idea about what a career actually was. And so I think, oh, I want to do this. And then I would find out, oh, I don't want to do that, when I found out what it's really about. And the opposite was also true. Sometimes I would think, oh, I'm not interested in that, and then found out I had a lot more interest in a certain area than I thought. And then I want to throw in one last House bill that was passed that is that we don't have in that topical brief, but it's House Bill 1517. And this House bill has a new requirement in it that that requires the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, as well as many Florida agencies and organizations that serve people with disabilities at all ages, from birth and beyond. And basically the task that's been assigned is for the work group to develop a system or some kind of a system. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but that will help individuals at any age to be able to access this resource and determine where they go to get assistance. So I think this will be especially helpful for students at an early age, because oftentimes parents aren't prepared for accessing all the resources that they need for their child. So that's House Bill 1517. And I think it's going to be awesome, this resource. And so now I want to pass the baton on to Tracy, and she's going to do a deeper dive into these legislative updates.
Yep, give me just a second. Okay, so we're really going to take a deeper dive into House Bill 19 because it has some additional responsibilities on the school district's end to provide self-determination instruction and, of course, information at least 1 year before that transfer of rights takes place at age 18. So just a little bit of, let me get you guys out of the way for a second. Okay, you can see my screen okay, thumbs up. Perfect. So as authorized by federal legislation, and that's called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, as I'm sure the majority of people attending today know, educational rights for students with disabilities transfer to the student upon attaining the age of majority. In Florida, that's age 18. Most states is age 18, but we're talking about Florida, and that is age 18. IDEA also requires the public agency or school district to provide notice that all rights that are accorded to parents will transfer to the child. And so in Florida, by the time the student is 18, the rights, the privileges, all the responsibilities of adults are granted to an individual automatically, unless a court determines that the individual is incapacitated, and then a guardian is typically appointed. A school district must notify the student and the parent of the transfer of rights when the student attains the age of 18. Let me scroll down just a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of those rights that actually do transfer. So some of the rights that will transfer to the student at age 18 include the right to give or revoke consent for an evaluation, for a reevaluation, special education services, even invitation of certain agencies to IEP meetings. There's also the right to participate in mediation or file a state complaint or even file due process. And then, of course, the right to receive written notice of any changes that are being proposed by the school district. And so some of those are just some examples of those rights that are going to transfer. And so we have to prepare our students with disabilities for what that means for them. All those rights now become theirs, and they have to understand what all of that means. And so let me scroll up. So to support students with disabilities and their parents when the student attains that age of majority while in school, House Bill 19, that's now in statute, requires school districts to provide information and instruction to a student and his or her parent on self-determination, that's one, and the legal rights and responsibilities relating to educational decisions that transfer to the student upon turning 18. That information provided must include options options for maintaining parental involvement in educational decision-making. And that includes power of attorney, guardian advocacy, and guardianship. And it must include a Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act waiver, also called FERPA. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit. As required by the IDEA, Florida has procedures to protect students with disabilities who cannot provide informed consent related to their educational program. With regard to the protection of educational records, Florida has incorporated the protections of FERPA directly into statute. Therefore, once a student attains the age of majority, the rights related to access to educational records, including the right to consent to their release, shift from the parent to the student. So these are some really technical things that we have to prepare our students for prior to turning 18. Florida has a state IEP system called PEER. It's taking forever to scroll, forgive me. It's getting there. Florida has a state IEP system called PEER. That's the Portal to Exceptional Education Resources, acronymed PEER. And PEER shares guidance that parents are required members of the IEP team unless the rights have transferred to the student at the age of majority. The school district is no longer required to invite the parent to the IEP meeting, but parents still retain the right to a notice that the meeting will take place. The school district also has the right to invite other individuals who have knowledge or special expertise with permission of the students whose rights have transferred. So we would hope that in preparation for the rights to transfer, that we're getting permission maybe for the student to invite their parents to the meeting. So let me keep scrolling. I just want to remind everyone on today that Florida law requires a student's IEP team to begin the transition planning process when the student is in grade 7 or when the student attains the age of 12, whichever occurs first. And a big part of transition planning is preparing the student for what rights will transfer and when. And so the earlier we can start, the better. We can start preparing. We definitely preparing and talking about it at age 12, really gearing up for that transfer of rights beginning at age 14 and every year thereafter. And then at age 17, we have to start providing information and instruction. I would actually suggest earlier than 17, but by law, it has to be by age 17. This is a student educational rights checklist, and it details the rights reflected in an IEP through age 21. So this is an excellent resource for not only students to understand what rights transfer, but also educators and parents. And so looking at this checklist, parents, students, educators can understand what rights are going to transfer, such as being invited to attend their IEP meetings, having their needs and preferences and interests considered when they're developing their IEP. And it goes on to talk about all the rights that are awarded the student and the parent prior to the student being 18. And then at the bottom, right here, is House Bill 19. And it kind of delineates what House Bill 19 requirements are, and that those rights will transfer at age 18. So again, this is an excellent resource for students, parents, and educators. So let me scroll down a little bit more. So in order to provide instruction in self-determination and self-advocacy and prepare the student for the transfer of rights, Project 10 has curriculum that is available to school districts. And so there are lessons in our newest Standing Up for Me Plus, and also in our previous Standing Up for Me. Also, the Zorro Center has the Whose Future Is It Anyway? It also has a specific lesson on giving informed consent. So those are some resources that are available to participants on today, specifically for educators for sure. And then when we talk about actually instructing and using that curriculum, we want to talk about the provision of instruction to students. How are we going to provide this instruction? What does that look like? And so providing the instruction on self-determination and self-advocacy, and then sharing information about the legal rights and responsibilities that transfer, that can happen in numerous ways. It can happen in a learning strategies class or a special education resource class. It could also happen during general education core instruction, or even within a self-determination course. Instruction can also be provided as one-on-one instruction, as a transition service, or other school provided options as an IEP team determines appropriate. And so once we provide that instruction to the students, we want to be sure that we are documenting that instruction within the IEP. And so documenting the instruction can be done within multiple sections of the IEP, right? Self-determination and self-advocacy instruction. It can be documented there within an annual goal. It can be documented under transition. So there's a transition services page. It can be documented there. It can be documented as specialized instruction. So some students may need to get from point A to point B, and we would need an annual goal to do that. It can be documented under related services as necessary. And then also, of course, supplementary aids and services. So documenting that instruction that you're providing about self-determination, self-advocacy, and the information that students need to understand about rights that transfer, and how to continue to have their parents as part of the decision-making team, that needs to be documented in the IEP, and it has to begin at age 17, if not before. And so I'm going to scroll down to some resources. And Donna, will you be able to put some resources in the chat, or are you still having trouble with that computer? If not, we can do it when we give the computer back to Colleen.
Yes, so I'm not sure can all participants see the Q&A?
I can see it. And Tracy, I can put resources in the chat box.
I don't know about all participants. I can see it, but I might have a special link. Okay, I'm going to share these resources.
They can see it. They can see
Okay.
it in the
That's
chat.
perfect. So I'm going to share these resources on screen, and we're, as Donna can, she will include some resources for the participants. If you want to, you can click on them and talk about. I definitely want to scroll down to Project 10's resources. And so these are some external resources that I'm sharing on the screen. There's the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, and they have lots of information about guardianship and other decision-making alternatives. There's also I'm Determined, and that's out of the Virginia Department of Education, that talk about rights as a student with a disability and those rights that transfer at age 18. They also have some excellent youth resources, such as the One Pager, which is an excellent transition assessment for those early 12-year-old 7th graders. You can start there to gather their needs, their interests, their preferences. But as far as Project 10, project10.info, we do have a search mechanism. And so if you type in something like guardianship, it's going to take you to our guardianship webpage that has lots of information about guardianship. And it also includes resources for guardianship. We also have our Considering the Age of Majority pamphlet document that Donna shared earlier today. It's under publications on the right-hand side at the bottom, because it's one of our newer ones. And all of our resources are a PDF, downloadable PDF. So please feel free to take some time at home with your favorite beverage and check out our publications on our project10.info webpage. Think College also has some decision-making options for young adults with intellectual disabilities. So that's another great resource as well. And I am going to stop my share now, and then we can move into any questions that you might have. Let me see if I see a Q&A. I don't see any open questions. Oh, Colleen, you're on mute.
Hey, Tracy, there's not an open question, but there is one that Ms. Donna had answered, but I wanted to read it out because I think this is real important for school districts to be aware of that. And this is not from a school district, but it's from Lisa, and Lisa writes, "We are a provider of supported and customized employment services. When you mention the topic of schools holding career fairs during the seniors' last year of high school, it would be beneficial if providers attended these events as well as businesses. We often talk with students and parents unaware of no-cost services that support the transition to work after graduation. Do you have any tips on connecting with the school districts? Is there a point of contact within the district we could look for?" So Tracy works, real quick, Tracy works directly with school districts.
So the annual career fairs, am I lagging?
Little.
Okay, I think it's better now. Okay, so the annual career fairs that are now required, they used to be suggested in statute. It was suggested for school districts to have annual career fairs. Senate Bill 240 requires annual career fairs now. And so that is an all thing. So it's not just for students with disabilities, it's for all students. However, that connection could be under the student services department within that public school district, because they are your all. The student services is your all. So if you could maybe go to their website, look for the student services director, and kind of make that point of contact, or a contact of the high school, because the high schools are the ones that have to host the annual career fair. So maybe if you want to reach out to the principal of the high school and find out more information, you could probably do that.
Tracy, I recommended that they contact ESC directors and transition contacts because they could attend the transition fairs for everyone, but currently transition personnel generally hold transition fairs that are specifically for students with disabilities,
Okay.
which would be the best spot for someone who is a provider of those services. And I also included our link to our local resources, and a lot of those transition contacts information will be on our website on those pages, or you can find them when you go to a district page. Just search for Osceola Public School, and you can find their page and find contacts there as well.
You made a good point, because the exceptional student education department within school districts have always hosted some type of transition fair or youth career fair. And now Senate Bill 240 is more of an all, you have to do it too. So there's kind of two things going on. So, absolutely, for connection with exceptional student education, reach out to the ESC director.
So Tracy, in the comments, and Ms. Donna, there's hi lovely ladies. Did you say you'll be sharing the handouts or get them on the Project 10 website? So the Project 10 website is your go-to for these, and everything new, based on my experience, everything new is under the topical briefs. So real quick, tell them where those can be found, because that's usually my go-to when I go to their website. I go to that, and then that hits all the new stuff that they've released on the website, and I can find it from there.
I would suggest probably going straight to the publications page. And you can look for that, considering age of majorities. And then the topical brief page will be the best place to find that July topical brief that does a summary of the transition-related legislative updates. And so, yeah, I think those two places are a good idea for getting stuff.
And so here is our website, just for another really quick look. Our publications is where a lot of visitors go. And so if you, at the top, we have these same buckets up here or down here as well. But if you go here and you go to training and publications, and then if you click on publications, it's going to take you to all of our publications. And on the right-hand navigation side is a PDF of all of our publications. Scrolling to the bottom, you will find our Considering Age of Majority, and we also have that in Haitian Creole and Spanish.
Oh, I was looking, so you can find it alphabetically in the narrative. So,
Over here.
Tracy, if you scroll back up to the Cs, you can find it alphabetically there. It's easier to find. I find it's easier to find on the narrative side than, so you can click on that and that will also take you to the PDF. So it's a little bit, for me, it helps me when things are alphabetized. So some of you don't need alphabetization, but it helps me.
Perfect.
All right, and Donna and Tracy, so Leanna with Career Source, she is out of Gulf and Franklin County, and she's managing the career fairs for Gulf and Franklin County schools. So she said, please connect with her who would like to attend, and I'm sure that Leanna could help you with any suggestions on how to connect with, if you're a school district, on how to connect with an outside agency such as Career Source. Career Source is a real good agency to contact with any needs of employment and youth programs.
Perfect. I'll be in Franklin County next week, Leanna.
So are there any other questions? I don't see any open questions. I think we've touched on everything.
I was going to say I wasn't able to put resources into the chat because the chat isn't open. I don't know if you want me to put them into the Q&A.
You can pop them in the Q&A. Yes.
Okay.
I think we can also follow up, Colleen, if we can like send some resources to you via email, and then
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Specifically the ones that I shared on the document I was sharing.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. So if my Tracy Lowe will go back to our slides. I want to thank Tracy and Donna for being here, for being a part of our scheduled DEAM events. We're so happy to welcome you back. And so we're thankful that you came back and provided updates for us. We hope that everyone finds this webinar informational. We'd love to explore and participate the rest of our webinar Wednesday series over the next few weeks. On the next slide, I have 2 webinars coming up. I'm sorry, Tracy, go back to the webinar Wednesday series. We have October 25th, a workplace culture and employee engagement webinar. And then on November 1st, we actually have a Together We Thrive. It's bridging the gap for people with disabilities and families. So that QR code there, you can whip out your phone, take a picture of that, to get to the link, or you can go to our website, which is www.abletrust.org/DEAM for additional information on those webinar series. The next slide is the Publix webinar. So we're pleased to share this event spotlighting career opportunities with Publix in their retail and non-retail areas for Disability Employment Awareness Month. Everyone is invited: students, clients, job coaches, teachers, community leaders. This webinar, there's actually another one in the morning. For this, you can register with the QR code, or there again, you can go to our website, www.abletrust.org/DEAM. And this webinar is perfect for students. If you're in a school system and you want to push this out to Gen Ed and ESE students, this showcases all the careers within Publix, how to go through the application process with Publix. And it's just not getting a job at the grocery store. It's getting a job at their corporate level. It's those jobs for their doctors they hire, their biologists they hire, their real estate agents they hire, their CDL drivers that they hire for their distribution centers. And a fun fact, like I know a lot of classroom teachers are throwing it up on their smart board, and then they within this presentation from Publix, they have a Kahoot challenge. And so the kids can get on and interact with them and answer questions on things they've learned through the little series. And they also have a chance to win little swag bags from Publix. So I really encourage you, if you haven't participated in that, to please do so and to share it with anybody that you know that would benefit from it. And this is a great way to start career exploration, especially in the middle schools. And our next slide is, we'd like to once again thank our outstanding slate of Disability Employment Awareness Month sponsors. We truly appreciate their support. And if there's anything that we can do for y'all, please go to our website, look at our resources, look at our publications. If you'd like to get receive any of our newsletters, we'd love to share those with you. You can sign up there. And then also be sure to go check out the DEEM activities with the webinars and the Publix webinars. And we've got different little information there. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank Tracy and Donna with Project 10 for joining us today. And I'd like to thank all the participants for taking the time to participate with us today. Have a great month, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.